Moving any amount of distance is a big life event, but when you're relocating to a completely different area, that just makes it that much bigger. I help families relocate to the Chattanooga area all the time, so I hear a lot of the same questions over and over. So in today's episode, we're gonna unpack some of those frequently asked questions. That way you can hear what I'm telling people just like you that are researching this area and trying to see if they want to consider Chattanooga as a future home base. My name is Whitney Proctor. I'm a realtor with Real Broker in the greater Chattanooga and Cleveland, Tennessee area, and I would love to be your go-to resource for all things real estate and relocation. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, be sure to check out the contact information here below in the description. Reach out to me and we can get started on planning your relocation journey. If you're not relocating and you just want to hear interesting facts about Chattanooga, stay tuned anyway because we're going to jam-pack this with a lot of really good information. On the agenda today, we're going to cover things like cost of living, home prices, schools, outdoor living, and also just some of the really common questions I get about regional norms, like what are the property taxes and do you have state income tax? Be sure to stick around for the whole video so you don't miss anything important. But if you're like me and you get a little bit bored watching a super long video, I totally understand and I've got you covered. If you check out the description below, it'll go minute by minute, all the different categories. That way you can just scroll ahead to the categories that are important to you. Before we get too deep into the topic for the day, let's touch really briefly on Chattanooga's super rich historical background. If you are a history buff, or frankly, even if you're not a history buff, it's really hard to talk about Chattanooga without at least touching on some of the really rich history that took place here and some of the important historical events. For example, it was a really pivotal battleground during the Civil War. It was home to the Battle Above the Clouds, which was the most important pivotal moment in ending the Confederate siege here in the South and making room for Union expansion. Chattanooga is also home to the famous Chattanooga Choo Choo that went from being a prominent railway hub in the late 1800s to now being an iconic space with Chattanooga's top restaurants, shops, and a fully immersive train car experience at the Hotel Chalet. We could honestly touch on the history for hours, and maybe we'll do a specific video featuring some of the more exciting highlights, but it's definitely worth mentioning because that's a lot of what gives the city so much charm. Let's get into our topics. Our first topic today is probably the most popular reason for people relocating, and that is overall cost of living. Cost of living as a whole is definitely lower than the national average, and I pulled a couple of really interesting statistics that I want to go over with you from PayScale. So the first one that I pulled is utility costs. Average utility costs are about 11% lower than the national average. Grocery prices are approximately 3% lower than the national average. Transportation is approximately 12%. Now this number may be a little bit skewed because it says that it's including bus fare. I can't tell you how much the bus costs here. Public transportation in Chattanooga is pretty minimal, but gas as a whole on average is $2.99. And again, this is just statistics that I've pulled from PayScale. This is not me going around to the different gas stations and doing cost of average or doing math and averaging them out for you, but it at least gives you a frame of reference to compare wherever it is that you're currently living. Healthcare costs in Chattanooga are approximately 10% lower than national doctor's visits in other regions. And again, I can't promise that these statistics are like 100% exact up to date since I'm relying on outside resources to tell me how this area compares. But considering the amount of people that I've had relocate from other areas and how every single one of them mentions that we are way cheaper here than wherever it is that they are moving from, I can feel pretty confident that even if the specific numbers that I'm providing are not 100% up to date based on whatever form of research the source is doing, it's at least pretty close. So we've talked a little bit about average house prices in previous videos. So as a refresher, the median average house price in the United States as of this most recent year is sitting at $420. Chattanooga proper median price point for the year 2024, actual sold price point, was $330. And Hamilton County for 2024 sold price was $377. Now this is the median price, not the average. We do the median on purpose so that we don't get skewed numbers with the super high prices or the super low prices. And it's really important, I think, to include both Chattanooga and Hamilton County. Chattanooga is the city proper. Hamilton County, of course, encompasses all of that greater Chattanooga suburb area, which is very much a factor when people are considering relocating here. So I want to include both. Now, as far as whether or not you can actually get something for that price point, depends depending on what you're looking for, really just depends on what you're looking for. And that is something that we would go over when you're looking to do a relocation consultation, is talking about what you need for size of house, what you need if you're trying to be a certain distance to anything for commuting, if you are looking for a certain age of house, etc. If you specifically want new construction, if you specifically want property, if you want a specific neighborhood, all of those things are going to factor into what is the exact price that you would spend on a house based on your criteria and your priorities. But that, again, at least gives you a frame of reference compared to whatever the average price is where you're currently living. Another really big factor in cost of living would be taxes. One of the biggest selling points for Tennessee as a whole is that we have no state income tax. And I think we're one of the only 7 or 8 other states that offer this in the United States. So that in of itself keeps us pretty high at the top of the relocation list when people are seeking out a new home base. Tennessee is also one of the lower ranked states for property taxes. According to Wallet Hub, for 2025 averages, Tennessee ranks number 13 on the lowest for average property taxes. Every city, every county inside of the state, of course, is going to have different numbers, but for the average for the state, that's where we fall compared to other national percentages. Now, one negative that we have for taxes is a higher sales tax. The Tennessee state sales tax is 7%, and then each county adds on top of that. And most counties add 2.25. So that makes the total 9.25 for most counties. And there's actually a few counties that are a little bit more touristy, such as up towards Sevierville, where they add an additional 0.5%, making it all the way up to 9.75. So that is something that surprises people a little bit. I know that there are plenty of other places across the country that have similar sales tax, but when you're looking at how, as a whole, taxes are so much lower in this region, that is sometimes a little bit of a surprise, but there has to be a trade-off since everything else is so low. Another thing that some people might consider to be a negative is there's really not any tax break credit programs available here. For example, homestead. That is not something that we have available. Frankly, I think that they just don't have it available because overall cost of living is so much lower here. And other than just not wanting to pay taxes because they're a bummer, they don't really consider that to be a reason to have some of these tax breaks. So at this time, lower cost of living is the tax break that you get if you're in Tennessee. Let's move on to schools and education. So Hamilton County Public School District is made up of 44 elementary schools, 26 middle schools, and 25 high schools. One thing that I'm not going to break down in this video is school zone ranking and telling you which one is the best school zone, and there's a few reasons for that. For one, I feel like that is ultimately a personal decision. You might have something really specific that you're looking for in a school zone. You might be looking for specific academic programming. You might be looking for a specific sporting ranking program because your kid has a really particular sport that they want to play. You might only care about proximity to your work because you want to make sure that your kid is only riding the bus for a few minutes because you can't drive them to school. There could be any number of reasons that you have as far as what you consider to be an important factor on a school zone ranking. And as far as the rankings on the websites where they break things down, a lot of that is due to testing and other things that just really, again, may or may not be a good indicator of what is a great school zone to you. So instead, what I'm going to do is break down some of the things that we do have and then also some resources. So one really good resource for you if you want to just compare the rankings is niche.com. And one of the reasons that I like this is because there's also reviews that people that actually attend the schools or parents of children that attend the schools that are allowed to leave reviews so that you can hear from actual people. Also, just reach out to the actual school district and see what resources are available to you that you can get information about the schools themselves. Can you interview teachers? Do you have any option for picking a different school than what you're zoned for? All of those things are going to be best answered directly from the school district or from maybe connecting with parents that are local to the area, like on sites, niche.com, etc. A couple other really notable things is Chattanooga actually has quite a bit of private schools. There are 27, I believe, in the area. Some of them are high school only, some of them are kindergarten through 12th grade. So that is always an alternative route if that's something that you want to pay for, and also if you just don't want to look at the public school system. Niche.com also has rankings and resources and information available for the private schools in the area. So definitely be sure to check that out so that you can make sure that you have all the information that's important to you for your school zone. And of course, we can't forget about the higher education. Chattanooga is home to University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and they also have the community college, Chattanooga State. Both of these schools enroll thousands of students every year and would be good resources for you to look at if you're looking for college. Another huge draw to people about the Chattanooga area is all of the natural beauty that we have here and how optimized it is for outdoor living and recreation. So we've touched on this a little bit before in previous videos, but let's do a quick recap. Chattanooga is named Scenic City, and it's named very appropriately. We have so much abundant natural beauty throughout the city. We're surrounded by mountains, we're surrounded by a gazillion trees, and we have the Tennessee River that runs right through the middle of downtown with a lake on either side. You have Chickamauga and you have Nickajack, perfect for all of your outdoor water recreation. So because of this, it's really appealing to people who love to spend time outside, whether they want to actually be active or whether they just want to look at it. There's something for everybody as far as outdoor living. There are also several parks in the area, some of the more notable ones being Coolidge Park and the Tennessee Riverwalk. Both of these are downtown and super accessible. Or if you want to be closer to the suburbs, we have Ooltewah and East Brainerd featuring the Enterprise South Nature Park and Audubon Acres. Both of these have lots of really family-friendly trails, and Audubon Acres is notably one of the area's only wildlife sanctuaries. That is certainly not an exhaustive list of all of the parks in the area. It's just a few of the notable fan favorites. If you want to check out all of the ones in the entire Chattanooga region, you can always check out the Parks and Recreation section of chattanooga.gov. If you like to be outdoors, but you're not necessarily into the hiking or the outdoor activity, there's plenty of other options for you. You could check out the Chattanooga Market that is downtown almost all year on Sundays. The only time they don't have it is during the winter because it's too cold and it's outside, but they kick it off in the spring and they run it all the way until the end of fall when it starts to get too chilly. Chattanooga is also known for some of its outdoor music scene, so there's a couple of fun festivals that happen annually. There's the annual Riverbend Music Festival, which is a week-long music festival of all sorts of different genres. This does have a couple of specific family-friendly days, so it could be open for everyone. And there's also Moon River, and that is a newer festival that they've started doing in the summers. They do it once a week in the weekend, all summer long. Super fun festival with a wide variety of different music artists. I've touched on different neighborhoods in a few different videos, so I'm not going to do a super exhaustive list here in this one, but a few different things to keep in mind when you're deciding what region of Chattanooga that you want to be in. There's, of course, the most popular on the map region, which would be Downtown Hub. You have actual downtown, you have St. Elmo, you have the South Side, you have North Shore. There's a bunch of different options if you really truly want city living. So that would be what you're looking at there. If you want to be more in the suburbs, which is realistically where a majority of people end up, you've got a few different places that you could look at. On one side of the river, you have Hickson and Soddy Daisy. They are their own kind of oasis there. On the other side of the bridge, Hickson has anything and everything that you could possibly need as far as your basic living amenities, and it's pretty close to downtown. You also have Signal Mountain, which is a fan favorite because it is so exclusive, if that's the right word, up on the mountain by itself. It's pretty close to downtown, minus the 15-minute drive up and down the mountain every day, but it also backs up to Cooper Prentice State Park, so it's really great for outdoor enthusiasts because it has such close access to all of those outdoor activities up there. On the other side, you've got Ooltewah and East Brainerd. Both are really suburby and a popular choice for people that want just to live away from some of the hustle and bustle but still have close access to things. You could live a little further out on either side with Harrison, Appleton, Collegedale. Plenty of options depending on where you want to be, what you want to be close to, and what your housing budget is. If you want to hear a little bit more about some of the top featured neighborhoods, be sure to check out my other video, Top Neighborhoods in Chattanooga, and we only touched on, I think, 5 in that video, so we'll probably actually end up doing another one at some point down the line. So if there's a neighborhood that you specifically are interested in that you want me to focus a little bit more on, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to hit that on the next feature. So let's recap really quick everything that we talked about. We talked about the affordable living here in the Chattanooga and Tennessee area. We talked about the outdoor living and lifestyle. We talked about resources to find your school zones. We talked about neighborhoods, and we talked about some of the fun activities that are here that you and your family can enjoy. All of this is definitely not an exhaustive list. There's so many other things that could be included that I'll keep tacking on into the video series as we continue down the line. If you have any specific questions, I would love for you to reach out to me, either email or phone. Both are listed here in the description of the video so that I can answer those specific things for you. Or if there's something you want me to highlight in a future video, definitely don't hesitate to leave that here in the comments. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, and I would definitely love to hear from you if you want to talk about relocating to this beautiful city that I call home. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be on the lookout for the next videos.